Hello and welcome to this third exploring session on the Jew of Malta by Christopher Marlowe. It is, I think, important to warn you that it is a problematic text. Features many anti-Semitic tropes, as well as themes around slavery and other early modern things that are considerably less acceptable today for very good reasons. However, we are going to assess the text partly in its light of its times, but also in what we would do with it today, if we would do anything with it today, and try and wrestle with those issues between text and performance and history and context and just things that are quite unpleasant. We've done two additional sessions on this so far, covering the first three acts. If you want to find out what's been going on, go back to those and catch up, as we're now very much rattling towards the final acts, the final denouements, the final tidying up of loose ends, and we'll see where the play goes. We're a little short today. We've had a couple of we had some illness and some reason for dropouts, so we are not as full and fulsome in numbers as we have been the previous couple of days, but we are enough to be getting on with. So to battle with the final two acts today, we have reading Barabas or Barabas or Barabas today is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor in Montpellier, France.
Reading Friar, Barnardine and Katharine today is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian in Yorkshire.
Reading Friar, Jacomo, Knight number 1 and Messenger today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu. I'm also living in Romford.
Reading Pilia-Borza and Calymath today is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Ithamore today is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I have 2 mice here at the moment, so... I mean, not literal mice, like computer mice. So I was like... worried that I was going to pick the wrong one to mute myself and unmute myself.
Reading Bellamire, Officer number 1 and Carpenter today is...
I'm Lois Potter, a retired academic living in London.
I think I've covered everyone. Have I missed anyone? No? Good. So I am your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading Veronese and Martin Del Bosco if he says anything. He's in a lot of scenes. I'm not 100% certain he says anything at all. He may do. We shall see. I will also be reading stage directions and generally trying to keep everything moving forward. We are leaping straight into Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Barabas and Ithamore, bells within.
There is no music to a Christian knell. How sweet the bells ring now the nuns are dead. That sound at other times like tinkers' pans. I was afraid the poison had not wrought, or though it wrought, it would have done no good, for every year they swell, and yet they live. Now, all are dead, not one remains alive.
That's brave, master, but think you it will not be known?
How can it, if we two be secret?
For my part, fear you not.
I'd cut thy throat if I did.
And reason too. But here's a royal monastery hard by. Good master, let me poison all the monks.
Thou shalt not need, for now the nuns are dead. They'll die with grief.
Do you not sorrow for your daughter's death?
No, but I grieve because she lived so long and Hebrew born and would become a Christian. Caso Diablo.
Look, master, here come 2 religious caterpillars.
Enter Friar Jacomo and Friar Barnardine.
I smelt them ere they came.
God of mercy knows. Come, let's be gone.
Stay, wicked Jew. Repent, I say, and stay.
Thou hast offended, therefore must be damned.
I fear they know we sent the poison broth.
And so do I, master. Therefore speak him fair.
Barabas, thou hast...
Aye, that thou hast.
Yeah, true. I have money. What though I have?
Thou art a...
Aye, that thou art a...
Oh, what needs all this? I know I'm a Jew.
Thy daughter.
I, thy daughter.
Oh, speak not of her, then I die with grief.
Remember that
I, remember that.
I must needs say that I have been a great usurer.
thou hast committed.
On occasion. Well, that was in another country. And besides, the wench is dead.
Aye, but Barabas, remember Matthias and Don Lodovic.
I, what of them?
I will not say that by a forged challenge they met.
She has confessed, and we are both undone. My bosom inmate. Oh, holy friars, the burden of my sins lie heavy on my soul. Then pray you, tell me, is not too late now to turn Christian? I have been zealous in the Jewish faith, hard-hearted to the poor, a covetous wretch that would for lucre's sake have sold my soul. 100 for 100 I've ta'en, and now for store of wealth may I compare with all the Jews in Malta. What is wealth? I am a Jew, therefore I am lost. With penance served for this my sin, I could afford to whip myself to death.
And so could I, but penance will not serve.
To fast, to pray, and to wear a shirt of hair, and on my knees creep to Jerusalem, cellars of wine and stallers full of wheat, warehouses stuffed with spices and with drugs, whole chests of gold in bullion and in coin. Besides, I know not how much weight in pearl, orient and round have I within my house. At Alexandria, merchandise untold. But yesterday, 2 ships went from this town. Their voyage will be worth 10,000 crowns. Florence, Venice, Antwerp, London, Seville, Frankfurt, Lubeck, Moscow, and where not have I debts owing. And in most of these, great sums of money lying in the banco. All this I'll give to some religious house, so I may be baptized and live therein.
Oh, good Barabas, come to our house.
No, no, good Barabbas, come to our house, and Barabas you know.
I know, I am highly sinned. You shall convert me. You shall have all my wealth.
Oh, Barabas, their laws are strict.
I know they are, and I will be with you.
They wear no shirts. They go barefoot too.
Oh, and 'tis not for me. And I am resolved, you shall confess me and have all my goods.
Good Barabas, come to me.
You see, I answer him, and yet he stays. Rid him away, and go you home with me.
I'll be with you tonight.
Come to my house at 1 o'clock this night.
You hear your answer, and you may be gone.
Why, go, get you away.
I will not go for thee.
Not? Then I'll make thee go.
How? Dost call me a rogue?
And they fight.
Part 'em, master, part 'em.
As is mere frailty, brethren, be content. Friar Barnardine, go you with Ithamore. You know my mind. Let me alone with him.
Why does he go to thy house? Let him be gone.
I'll give him something, and so stop his mouth.
And exit Ithamore with Friar Barnardine.
I never heard of any man but he maligned the order of the Jacobins. But do you think I believe his words? Why, brother, you converted Abigail, and I am bound in charity to requite it, and so I will. Oh, Jacomo, fail not become.
But Barabas, who shall be your godfathers? For presently you shall be shrived.
Harry, the Turk shall be one of my godfathers, but not a word to any of your covent.
I warrant thee, Barabas.
And exit Friar Jacomo.
Oh, now the fear is past, and I am safe. He that shrived her is within my house. Or if I murdered him ere Jacomo comes. Now I have such a plot for both their lives as never Jew nor Christian knew the like. One turned my daughter, therefore he shall die. The other knows enough to have my life, therefore 'tis not requisite he should live. But are not both these wise men to suppose that I will leave my house, my goods and all, to fast and be well whipped? Not about that. Now, Friar Barnardine, I come to you. Feast you, lodge you, give you fair words, and after that, I and my trusty Turk, no more, but so must and shall be done.
Enter Ithamore.
Ithamore, tell me, is the friar asleep?
Yes, and I know not what the reason is. Do what I can, he will not strip himself nor go to bed, but sleeps in his own clothes. I fear he mistrusts what we intend.
No, 'tis an order which the friars use. Yet, if he knew our meanings, could he escape?
No, none can hear him, cry he ne'er so loud.
True. Therefore did I place him there, the other chambers open towards the street.
You loiter, master, wherefore stay we thus? How I long to see him shake his heels.
Come on, Sirha, off with your girdle, make a handsome noose.
And Ithamore takes off his girdle and ties a noose in it.
Friar, awake!
They put the noose round the friar's neck.
What? Do you mean to strangle me?
Yes, 'cause you used to confess.
Blame not us, but the proverb. Confess and be hanged, poor hard.
What? Will you have my life?
Poor hard, I say, you would have had my goods.
Aye, and our lives too, therefore pull amain.
And they strangle the friar.
'Tis neatly done, sir. There's no print at all.
And is it as it should be? Take him up.
Nay, master, be ruled by me a little.
Takes up the body, sets it upright against the wall, and puts a staff in its hand.
So let him lean upon his staff. Excellent. He stands as if he were begging a bacon.
Who will not think but that this friar lived? What time of night is now, sweet Ithamore?
Towards 1.
Will not Jacomo be long from hence?
And they enter Friar Jacomo.
This is the hour wherein I shall proceed. Oh, happy hour wherein I shall convert an infidel and bring his gold into our treasury. But soft, is not this Barnardine? It is. And understanding I should come this way, stand here on purpose, meaning me so wrong, and intercept my going to the Jew. Barnardine, wilt thou not speak? Thou thinkest I see thee not. Away, I wish thee, and let me go by. No, wilt thou not? Nay then, I'll force my way, and see, a staff stands ready for the purpose. As thou likest that, stop me another time.
And he takes up the staff and strikes down the body. Enter Barabas and Ithamore.
Why, how now, Jacomo? What hast thou done?
Why, striking him that would have struck at me.
Who is it? Barnardine? Now out alas, he is slain.
Aye, master, he's slain. Look how his brains drop out his nose.
Good sirs, I have done it, but nobody knows it but you two. I may escape.
So might my man and I hang with you for company.
No, let us bear him to the magistrates.
Good Barabas, let me go.
No, pardon me. The law must have his course. I must be forced to give in evidence that being inopportune by this Barnardine to be a Christian, I shut him out, and there he sate. Now, I to keep my word and give my goods and substance to your house was up thus early with intent to go unto your friary because you stayed.
Eye upon them. Master, will you turn Christian when holy friars turn devils and murder one another?
Oh, for this example, I'll remain a Jew. Heaven bless me. A friar, a murderer. When shall you see a Jew commit the like?
Why, a Turk could have done no more.
Tomorrow is the sessions. You shall to it. Come, if more, let's help to take him hence.
Villains, I am a sacred person. Touch me not.
The law shall touch you. We'll but lead you. We. Lass, I could weep at your calamity. Take in the staff too, for that must be shown. Law wills that each particular be known.
And they exit. What an interesting scene. I mean, there's so many games going on here. I mean, it's the sort of logic in his mind. He had to kill his daughter because she was a threat, but he could make the argument that she'd become these people had made her a Christian, therefore she had to die, therefore they killed her. That he sort of essays that as a logic. It has nothing to do with why he does anything, but it's sort of in there. I'm liking the competitive market between friaries because they are presumably of different orders. And they're basically going,
amazing.
No, come to us, endow us with all your wealth. That would be fab. No, come with me. And then we end up with a scene that's straight out of John Hayward's Partner and the Friar, where they end up sort of haranguing each other and end up fighting. That is a play that's available on the podcast. It's an earlier play that is basically a short skit with say, a Partner and the Friar having a jolly good fight. Recommend a full cast audio adaptation is available now. That's the plug out of the way. Back to what we're supposed to be doing. So yes, it is very farcical, isn't it? It's just they've got the setting up the dead body, which again around about this year, haven't we got another dead body being used afterlife in Battle of Alcazar, isn't it? Where they have the body being possessed. Okay, it's not in the same fashion, but it's the same sort of idea, and it's pretty much exactly the same date as well. So is there a vogue of that kind of thing? Thoughts from the room? Lois first.
Just I was going to mention, as far as dead bodies as props, I mean, there's also Horatio's body in the Spanish tragedy, which is, I think, revealed at the end of the play within the play, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Geronimo's explaining his motive. Yeah, no, it's a very funny scene, I think. It also turns up in Thomas Heywood's The Captives, which is one of the reasons people are a bit suspicious about what he might have had to do with this play.
Who is stealing from whom? Eric, I think by Whisker.
I was just going to say that it's interesting how the friars, there's been hints of their behavior being unchristian, sort of, but before this, we didn't really have this sense that they were very secular. But whereas now the sort of fighting becomes very sort of. I mean, you probably wouldn't see that happen. You wouldn't expect that of holy men and stuff in society.
Yes, there are recorded incidents of such things occurring.
Really?
But you're right. It is shocking. I think that is the point that there's such activity. Not by this point necessarily, because they're friars and therefore in a Protestant country they're probably not that fast in the same way. But yeah, in the past, actual historical examples where members of the cloth get in a fight in a church created quite an furore. Helen.
Thank you. There's a small staging problem in that this presumably takes place in the street, and outside the Jew's house, the Friar Barnardine goes into the house with Ithamore. He then goes to sleep somewhere in the house, or he lies down without getting undressed. And then they strangle him.
Yeah, how does Friar Barnardine get back on stage is really the question, isn't it?
Sorry, yes, I was a bit long-winded, but yes, that's the trying to visualize it. It was a little difficult. I mean, is he staggering out having heard a noise, or do they open up the front of the back of the stage and reveal him?
It might be a clue in Ithamore's line, you loiter master, wherefore stay with us? Oh, how I long to see him shake his heels, as though there's, he was asleep, he's staggering back on, half asleep kind of thing.
Yeah.
I saw Lois.
Yeah, I think the most likely thing, if they had a curtain space at the back of the stage, would be to open it and drag him out, or possibly even to kill him in his bed and then drag him out and leave him propped up.
Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that scene would need to be played very fast, which means that you probably wouldn't notice the inconsistencies anywhere near as much. And the other one that I noted in there is the quotation, and besides, the wench is dead. Is that the first time that this one's actually turned up? Is that where it's known from?
That's where it's from, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, beloved of. We were talking about murder mysteries earlier, weren't we?
Yes.
Of course.
So yeah, that's where it comes from. That's where Colin Dexter borrowed it. Eric.
Yeah.
Yes, Elliot.
I was just gonna ask, after all these murders, like, does this officially make what's his name, Barabas a serial killer by our standards, or is that like sort of like mass murder or something, or is that sort of a different denomination?
Well, there are two types of serial killer. There's your spree killer who kills an enormous number at once, which is the like the nunnery thing. And then there is your serial killer who kills one at a time, but over a long period. So if you're totaling people, you've got to distinguish between the two. But Barabas appears to be both.
Yeah, I think technically to be a serial killer, you need to be it's quite a low bar. I think it's only about 3 people before that becomes a serial murder spree. It's interesting because he's not systematic. It's like he talks himself into, shall I kill him? Shall I kill him now? I suppose I could. Oh, I've had an idea. It's not like he's set anything up. He's improvising in a way. Alan.
I think, must admit, going through it, I'm thinking that each time Barabas is commissioning a killing, he has got a good internal logic for so doing. You know, he is basically getting his own back for slights or disadvantages that have been put upon him. It's also noticeable how this is an equal opportunity play, in as much as let's leave no minority group unoffended. You know, we'll have a go at the nuns, we'll have a go at the friars, we'll have a go at the Jews, we'll have a go at the Turks, we'll have a go at the Spanish. You know, it's straight out of the Farage playbook. You know, they're all bloody foreigners. Let's have a go at them.
Yes, there's lots of Anyway, I'll Eric. Sorry.
I didn't have anything to say. I was just like sort of gesturing,
You were just
in
gesturing, that's
agreement.
fine.
Like, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's Yes, there's. I'm not sure. The thing about Barabas's motivations is they don't seem particularly deep.
No,
At all. I mean, it's like he's sort of making up his motivations as he's going along. It's just like he's improvising. It's like he knows he's in the play that he's improvising action for as he's going along, rather than that he has a motivation that's particularly consistent. It's just like, how can we create chaos now? Lois.
Yeah, I think it's really the cover-up plot, isn't it? I mean, first I think he kills off. Yeah, he kills off Abigail's suitors to get revenge on Farnese. So there's the revenge plot. But then in order to cover up this fact, which he's afraid Abigail might reveal in the nunnery, he kills her and all the nuns. Then the friars turn out to know about it, so he has to kill them.
Or get them to think they've killed each other as well. I mean, it's the way that disposing of one by this mock murder that he semi-arranged. I mean, how does he know that's going to work?
It's sort of like what he does with the 2 suitors, though. I mean, it's part of the whole Machiavellian thing that you work indirectly if possible, and maneuver other people, pulling strings on puppets.
Yes, we are. That really is that connection with that opening speech. Is that element that it is working in that direction, rather than just. It's like Ithamore just says, "Shall we just poison them?" Oh, yeah, that was a good idea. But no, he has to create this complex web of things that are likely to go wrong. Helen?
Right at the very beginning of the enter Friar Jacomo and Barnardine, there's this conversation between the two friars and Barabas, and neither of the friars seems to be able to get their ideas out into words. And I wasn't at all sure what was going on there. Barabas, thou hast.
Yeah.
And then that thou hast.
Well, I think it's the competitive element again. I think it's that they're both speaking at the same time. They look at each other, at which point he's got a chance of leaping in and stopping. You know, it's that kind of thing, which again is really leading us back to Partner and the Friar, where the whole gag is the Partner and Friar speak simultaneously for about 50 to 70% of the play, and so I'm wondering, I do wonder that. Alan.
Yeah, I mean that was the point I was thinking of, but to a certain extent, following on from this improvising leading to more and more crimes, the recent political event this is reminding me of is Watergate. You know, we started off as a fairly simple incident, and then got more and more complex as Nixon dug himself deeper and deeper into the hole.
Yeah, it's the way they structured Veep as well. There's one relatively minor thing in the first series that slowly leads to, for several series down the line, increasingly complex things are trying to tidy up problems that were set in motion. It was a really minor opening incident. I think only gets mentioned in passing, and then by the end, as it goes on, you know, years have passed, and all the repercussions of the repercussions of the repercussions just makes things more and more complex. Eric?
I was wondering, is this supposed to be like, because there's no sort of gravity of someone's death. Okay, the only sort of like serious one that we've had has been Abigail, I guess. But like even then, it's kind of like sort of, it feels like very easy to do, like sort of rather than, you know, it's the biggest. Whereas in other plays that I can think of, I'm not going to mention, almost did. It's like the worst thing you can do is kill someone. So
yes, there's no weight to these deaths. I mean,
exactly.
Even when Abigail dies, there's basically a punchline the next line.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, she has her death moment, and they're just going, oh.
Yeah. So is it meant to be a comedy, kind of like Monty Python, or?
That's the question of tone. Is, you know, the you know, how much of this is essentially a black farce.
I mean, I'm beginning to believe that the people who handed in the comic Jew outfit after the first section and said, right, now you're going to be a different character, had got it right.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the problem that we've encountered since the second session, is just actually how grotesque the place suddenly becomes. You know, the first session we were talking about, you know, there's a hero, there's a sense, and then it just dives into this approach. You know, individually scenes are very effective, but that doesn't necessarily mean as a totality that it just gets more and more problematic as it goes. I think we need to move forward, however, because we've got quite a lot of text to do. So, Act 4, Scene 2, enter Bellamire and Pilia-Borza.
Pilia-Borza, didst thou meet with Ithamore?
I did.
And didst thou deliver my letter?
I did.
And what thinkst thou? Will he come?
I think so. Yes, I cannot tell. But the reading of the letter, he looked like a man of another world.
Why so?
That such a base slave as he should be saluted by such a tall man as I am, from such a beautiful dame as you.
And what said he?
Not a wise word, only gave me a nod, as who should say, is Stephen so? And so I left him, being driven to a nonplus at the critical aspect of my terrible countenance.
And where didst meet him?
Upon mine own freehold, within 40 foot of the gallows, conning his neck verse, I take it, looking of a friar's execution, whom I saluted with an old hempen proverb, Hoddy tibi cras mihi, and so I left him to the mercy of the hangman. But, the exercise being done, See, where he comes.
Enter Ithamore.
I never knew a man take his death so patiently as this friar. He was ready to leap off ere the halter was about his neck. And when the hangman had put on his hempen tippet, he made such haste to his prayers as if he had another cure to serve. Well, go whither he will, I'll be none of his followers in haste. And now, I think on it, going to the execution, a fellow met me with the moustaches like a raven's wing, and a dagger with a hilt like a warming pan. And he gave me a letter from one Madame Bellamire, saluting me in such sort as if he had made to make clean my boots with his lips. The effect was that I should come to her house. I wonder what the reason is. It may be she sees more in me than I can find in myself, for she writes further that she loves me ever since she first saw me, and who would not requite such love? Here's her house, and here she comes, and now, would I were gone, I am not worthy to look upon her.
This is the gentleman you writ to.
Gentleman, he flouts me. What gentry can be in a poor Turk of tenpence? I'll be gone.
Is not a sweet-faced youth, Pilia?
Again, sweet-faced youth? Did you, sir, bring the sweet youth a letter?
I did, sir, and from this gentlewoman, who, as myself and the rest of the family, stand or fall at your service.
The woman's modesty should hail me back. I can withhold no longer. Welcome, sweet love.
Now am I clean, or rather fully out of the way?
Whither so soon?
I'll go steal some money from my master to make me handsome. Pray pardon me, I must go see a ship discharged.
Oh, canst thou be so unkind to leave me thus?
And ye did but know how she loves you, sir.
Nay, I care not how much she loves me. Sweet Bellamire, would I had my master's wealth for thy sake?
And you can have it, sir, and if you please.
If it were above ground, I could and would have it, but he hides it and buries it up as partridges do their eggs under the earth.
And it's not possible to find it out?
By no means possible.
What shall we do with this base villain, then?
Let me alone. Do you but speak him fair. But you know some secrets of the Jew, which, if they were revealed, would do him harm.
Aye, and such as, go to, no more. I'll make him send me half he has, and glad he escapes so too. I'll write unto him, we'll have money straight.
Send for 100 crowns at least.
100,000 crowns. Master Barabas.
Write not so submissively, but threatening him.
Sirrah Barabas, send me 100 crowns.
Put in 200 at least.
I'll charge thee, send me 300 by this bearer, and this shall be your warrant. If you do not, no more, but so.
Tell him you will confess.
Otherwise, I'll confess all. Vanish and return in a twinkle.
Let me alone. I'll use him in his kind.
Hang him, Jew.
And exit Pilia-Borza with the letter.
Now, gentle Ithamore, lie in my lap. Where are my maids? Provide a running banquet. Send to the merchant, bid him bring me silks. Shall Ithamore, my love, go in such rags?
And bid the jeweler come hither too.
I have no husband. Sweet, I'll marry thee.
Content, but we will leave this paltry land and sail from hence to Greece, to lovely Greece. I'll be thy Jason, thou my golden fleece, where painted carpets o'er the meads are hurled, and Bacchus's vineyards overspread the world, where woods and forests go in goodly green. I'll be Adonis, thou shalt be love's queen. The meads, the orchards, and the primrose lanes, instead of sedge and reed, bear sugar canes. Though thou in those groves by this above, shalt live with me and be my love.
Whither will I not go with gentle Ithamore?
Re-enter Pilia-Borza.
How now? Hast thou the gold?
Yes.
But came it freely? Did the cow give down her milk freely?
At reading of the letter, he stared and stamped and turned aside. I took him by the beard and looked upon him thus, and told him he were best to send it. Then he hugged and embraced me.
Rather than for fear than love.
Then, like a Jew, he laughed and jeered and told me he loved me for your sake, and said what a faithful servant you had been.
The more villain he to keep me thus. Here is goodly parel, is there not?
To conclude, gave me 10 crowns.
Delivers the money to Ithamore.
But 10? I'll not leave him worth a grey groat. Give me a ream of paper, we'll have a kingdom of gold for it.
Right for 500 crowns.
Sirrah Jew, as you love your life, send me 500 crowns and give the bearer 100. Tell him I must have it.
I warrant your worship shall have it.
And if he asks why I demand so much, tell him I scorn to write a line under 100 crowns.
You'd make a rich poet, sir. I'm gone.
Exit with the letter.
Take thou the money, spend it for my sake.
Oh, 'tis not thy money, but thyself I weigh. Thus Bellamire esteems of gold.
Throwing the money aside.
Thus of thee.
And kisses him.
That kiss again. She runs the vision of my lips. What an eye she casts on me. It twinkles like a star.
Come, my dear love, let's in and sleep together.
Oh, that 10,000 nights were put in one, that we might sleep 7 years together afore we wake.
Come, amorous wag, first banquet, and then sleep.
Exit. Yeah, that's a fascinating sort of gulling scene working from the other camp. You know, time has passed. We have a time passing between scenes. So the friar's dead, offstage death, but he was quite keen. Seems to be to get in that noose. And then we get this sort of love plot to pump Ithamore for gold and information and stuff. And Ithamore's sort of rather pathetically in love in so many ways. He really, and it's the way they're sort of slowly moving him towards getting more and more aggressively against Barabas as he goes, and the way the letters are addressed each time getting more and more threatening. So yeah, it's but then we get this sort of almost time compression in the sense that Pilia-Borza goes off and comes back again really quickly. I mean, it could have been a quick transaction, but it does feel like, again, time's just going very, very quickly. Thoughts from the room?
It was a woman that did him in. Brought down by a woman.
Yep.
You don't get the impression that Ithamore's got out much, do you, from this?
Well, no. I mean, I don't think he's particularly old.
Mm.
And if he's been a slave, then presumably his opportunities have been limited. And she is probably rather overwhelming. I mean, I imagine she exudes sensuality.
Well, yes, one does get the impression that from the earlier scenes that, yes, she's quite good at this.
Plenty of practice.
Yes. Lois.
Yeah, I just didn't know if anybody else had picked up the amazing bit where Marlowe was apparently quoting himself, come live with me and be my love. I mean,
Yeah.
famous
Yeah.
poet. Put it into the mouth of Ithamore, you know, in that context is really weird.
I was trying to work out where that quote came from.
And we will all the pleasures prove.
Yes, it's called The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. I don't know if
Right.
you did that, but yeah, and it was always attributed to Marlowe, so I assume it is. But it's really odd. I mean, whether he's quoting himself or whether this again might be Heywood playing around, I don't know.
Well, maybe it's a comment on the kind of person who goes around quoting this kind of love poetry. Maybe that's a character note on Ithamore. Is he's the kind of person who goes out saying this to actual people.
Well, it's also funny that he speaks rhyme. I mean, in this play, at any rate, rhyme is only used by comic characters. It's part of that. It's part of that world of a slightly old-fashioned comedy, I think.
Well, it's pretty much the only point that Ithamore's not speaking prose. He's majority prose so far, so he suddenly gets this verse, and you can see what Bellamire, you can imagine what Bellamire's sort of her reactions to him as he's doing this is just yes, delightful,
Yeah.
kill me. Other thoughts, Alan?
I'm becoming more and more convinced that Ithamore was being played by someone who, in other productions, may well have taken the clown role. Because of the way he twists and turns and the use of language, as has been said, and the obsession with food that keeps coming back. Food, money, and sex, the three motivations of the clown.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never really appreciated how clownish Ithamore was actually in reading this play before. I mean, he really does come across very much that way. Eric, you've been reading him.
Yeah, it was just hard to figure out the sides and stuff, like whether they were serious or not and stuff. But also, he kind of comes across as he just does this whole 180 turn in an instant because sort of supposedly he's in love.
Well, I think
Lost.
He absolutely is. I mean, from the off, the moment he saw her, it was but I think there's something about him as a clown. He's not a comic clown in the sense he's going out and doing gags, actual structured jokes. It's all very deadpan. A lot of this, or it seems to me, it works that way. There's a sort of genuine foolishness to him. He's being manipulated in this very overt way. He's a Dougal, not a Father Ted. That's how he's coming across to me at the moment. But maybe that's a bit too far. But Lois.
Well, the other thing is that he's turning on his master at this point. And this actually is a kind of plot that runs through a number of plays. I mean, where you get two people cooperating to deceive everybody else, and then one of them turns on the other and wipes him out, or, you'll see what happens in this case.
Yes. Helen.
There's one line that is giving me a lot of problems. It's Ithamore, and if he asks why I demand so much, tell him I scorn to write a line under 100 crowns. Now, I'm very interested in completely separate contexts in how people write down money amounts, because it can get very, very complex. And I'm not entirely sure what he means. And I wondered if you had a text with a footnote.
I do not, or not with a specific footnote on that. I have a very, very unfootnotey edition, I'm afraid. I think there's an interesting question, yes, how much he thinks he's written down, and that hence the response that he gets. But no, I have nothing on that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, because, I mean, lines written above and below have significations and it's sometimes quite difficult to work out how much people are talking about in accounts. But this is another problem.
I mean, I've read this play in various editions, and I don't recall ever seeing a note on that, though I could go and hunt them up, because he's really coming out with the double meaning then, is he? I scorn to write a line under 100 crowns, or I scorn to write a line that isn't worth at least 100 crowns, which is why Pilia-Borza says he'd make a rich poet.
It may be that what he's saying is, I wouldn't send a letter asking for less than 100 crowns. Yeah, that is a much more sensible than I'm thinking about this too particularly. I think that is a very write me a line. Yes, I think it's write a note, write a letter. Yeah.
Eric.
Weirdly, this play is reminding me a bit, I know that this is not going to happen for another, I don't know, 300 years. Yeah, 300 years. But it reminds me of Ubu Roi, or Ubu the King, when which is kind of he tries to he's very sort of at least in Ithamore's character being horrible to people, having great gains from it, and sort of just gratifying himself with
well, that kind of grotesque clowning tradition does seem to be fitting into elements of this. I mean, there is something quite grotesque about and this could be really massively overplayed in so many ways if you wanted to go that way. So yeah, no, I think it's a perfectly good connection. Helen.
Are we ever going to read a play without a banquet?
Probably not, no. We get hungry.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, well, there isn't actually a banquet. I mean, I think Bellamire is putting it on here. I mean, also this "Where are my maids?" She probably doesn't have any maids. You know, she's trying to pretend to be a very high-class courtesan and calling for a running banquet, which would mean that they would all come in with trays laden with wonderful food. But you know, all this about getting the new clothes and so on. It's like Barabas promising to give his keys to Ithamore and then to get him new clothes. None of this is going to happen.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, poor
Sorry.
Ithamore.
Yeah, he did just strangle someone. Just mentioning that. Literally the
Yes,
previous scene.
true.
Bit murdery.
Nuremberg defence. He was only following orders.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't work then, and it's quite
No,
inappropriate to be bringing that up now.
He makes suggestions.
Hmm?
He makes suggestions.
He does make murdery suggestions. I think, to be fair, it's kind of what that's been his job so far. Seems to be that's his level that he's working to. Anyway, we will move on. Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Barabas reading a letter.
Barabas, send me 300 crowns. Plain Barabas, oh, that wicked courtesan. He was not wont to call me Barabas, or else I will confess. There it goes. But if I get him, coup de gorge for that. He sent a shaggy, tottered, staring slave that when he speaks draws out his grisly beard and winds it twice or thrice about his ear. His face has been a grindstone for men's swords. His hands are hacked, some fingers cut quite off, who, when he speaks, grunts like a hog, and looks like one that is employed in catsery and cross-fighting, such a rogue as is the husband to 100 whores. And I, by him, must send 300 crowns. Well, my hope is he will not stay there still, and when he comes, oh, that he were but here.
And enter Pilia-Borza.
Jew, I must have more gold.
Why, want'st thou any of thy tale?
No, but 300 will not serve his turn.
Not serve his turn, sir.
No, sir, and therefore I must have 500 more.
Or rather,
Oh, good word, sir, and send it you were best. See, there's his letter.
And gives the letter.
might he not as well come as send? Pray, bid him come and fetch it, what he writes for you. Ye shall have it straight.
Aye, and the rest too, or else.
I must make this villain away. Please you dine with me, sir. I and you shall be most heartily poisoned.
No, God a mercy. Shall I have these crowns?
I cannot do it. I have lost my keys.
Oh, if that be all, I can pick open your locks.
Or climb up to my counting house window. You know my meaning.
I know enough, and therefore talk not to me of your counting house. The gold, or no, Jew, it is in my power to hang thee.
I am betrayed. 'Tis not 500 crowns that I esteem. I am not moved at that. This angers me. He who knows I love him as myself should write in this imperious vein. Why, sir, you know I have no child, and unto whom shall I leave all but unto Ithamore?
Here's many words, but no crowns. The crowns!
Commend me to him, sir, most humbly, and unto your good mistress as unknown.
Speak. Shall I have 'em, sir?
Sir, here they are.
And gives the money.
Oh, shall that I should part with so much gold? Here, take 'em, fellow, with as good a will as I would see thee had. Oh, love stops my breath. Never loved manservant as I do Ithamore.
I know it, sir.
Pray, when, sir, shall I see you at my house?
Soon enough to your cost, sir. Very well.
And he exits.
Nay, To thine own cost, villain, if thou comest. What is ever due, tormented as I am, to have a shag-rag knave to come 300 crowns, and then 500 crowns? Well, I must seek a means to rid him all, and presently, for in his villainy he will tell all he knows, and I shall die for it. I have it. I will in some disguise go see the slave, and how the villain revels with my gold.
And he exits. We're going to go straight into Act 4, Scene 4. Enter Bellamire, Ithamore, and Pilia-Borza.
I'll pledge thee, love, and therefore drink it off.
Sayest thou me so? Have at it. And do you hear?
Oh, go to, it shall be so.
Of that condition I will drink it up. Here's to thee.
Nay, I'll have all or none.
There, if thou lovest me, do not leave a drop.
Love thee? Fill me 3 glasses.
3 and 50 dozen, I'll pledge thee.
Naively spoken, and like a knight at arms.
Hey, Rivo Castigliano, a man's a man.
Now, to the Jew.
Ha, to the Jew, and send me money he were best.
What wouldst thou do if he should send thee none?
Do nothing, but I know what I know, he's a murderer.
Oh, I had not thought he'd been so brave a man.
You knew Matthias and the governor's son. He and I killed them both, and yet never touched them.
Oh, bravely done.
I carried the broth that poisoned the nuns, and he and I, snickle hand too fast, strangled a friar.
You 2 alone?
We two, and 'twas never known, nor shall ever be for me.
This shall with me unto the governor.
And fit it should, but first let's have more gold. Come, gentle Ithamore, lie in my lap.
Love me little, love me long. Let the music rumble, whilst I in thy ivory lap do tumble.
Enter Barabas, disguised as a French musician with a lute and a nosegay in his hat.
Ah, French musician. Come, let's hear your skill.
Must tu know my lute for sounds? Twang twang first.
Wilt drink, Frenchman? Here's to thee with a pox on this drunken hiccup.
God merci, monsieur.
Prithee, Pilia-Borza, bid the fiddler give me the posy in his hat there.
Sirrah, you must give my mistress your posy.
À votre commandant, madame.
And gives nosegay.
Ah, how sweet, my Ithamore, the flowers smell.
Like thy breath, sweetheart, no violet like 'em.
Oh, methinks they stink like a hollyhock.
So, now I am revenged upon them all. The sense thereof was death.
Play, fiddler, or I'll cut your cat's guts into chitterlings.
Pardonnez-moi, be not in tune yet. So now all be in.
Give him a crown and fill me out with more wine.
Here's 2 crowns for thee. Play.
And gives money.
Liberally, the villain gives me my own gold.
And he plays.
Methinks he fingers very well.
So did you when you stole my gold.
How swift he runs.
You run swifter when you threw my gold out of my window.
Musician, hast thou been in Malta long?
2, 3, 4 months, madame.
Dost not know a Jew, one Barabas?
Very much, monsieur, you know be his man.
His man?
I scorn the peasant, tell him so.
He knows it already.
'Tis a strange thing of that Jew, he lives upon pickled grasshoppers and sauced mushrooms.
Oh, slaves this, the governor feeds not as I do.
He never put on a clean shirt since he was circumcised.
Oh, rascal, I change myself twice a day.
The hat he wears Judas left under the elder when he hanged himself.
'Twas sent me off for a present from the great charm.
A nasty slave he is. Whither now, fiddler?
Pardonnez-moi, monsieur, we be no well.
Farewell, fiddler.
Exit Barabas.
1 letter more to the Jew.
Oh, prithee, sweet love, 1 more, and write it sharp.
No, I'll send by word of mouth now. Bid him deliver thee 1,000 crowns. By the same token that the nuns loved rice, that Friar Barnardine slept in his own clothes, and any of them would do it.
let me alone to urge it. Now I know the meaning.
The meaning has a meaning. Come, let us in, to undo a Jew his charity and not sin.
And they exit, and that's the end of Act 4. So, yeah, everything's moving on a pace as, yes, filling in all the dangerous problems in as various plans unravel. Barabas is quite unhappy, I think it's fair to say. So he comes up with a perfectly sane plan, perfectly logical. It's what we all do. Disguise yourself as a fiddle player and deliver a poisoned nosegay. That's so many murder plots that we come across these days do exactly that. Lots of fun had with that. Again, it's this sort of ridiculousness of it all, and Ithamore drunk and just confessing left, right, and centre. I love the way it just goes. It was never known, nor never shall be by me.
Yeah.
Just going, yeah. And the quite rude bit about the coney lap do tumble. That nice playfulness between them, just constantly making him give more, find more, get more money. Thoughts of those two scenes as they rattled into each other? Dan, how have you been finding Barris? The costume change there, obviously enjoyed with aplomb.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this role, I've got to say. It makes me sad I wasn't here the first 2 days.
Other thoughts in the room?
Pickled grasshoppers and sauced mushrooms.
Yum.
Yeah. Well, the play, these two scenes are just full of lovely, grotesque language. I mean, Barabas's description of Pilia-Borza winding his moustache around his ear, and Ithamore making up all these stories about the Jew to play to their prejudices, and Barabas's shock at being talked about like this. And I don't know. It's totally farcical, isn't it?
Yes, it's playing with all the ironies there, isn't it? Helen.
There's a lot of description of Pilia-Borza. He's described by Ithamore in a previous scene where he delivers the letter when they're at the foot of the gallows. Mm. It's something to do with the raven's wing coloured moustache or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember it. And then here we've got this enormous description which doesn't actually add anything. Shaggy, tattered, staring slave, grisly beard, grindstone face, fingers cut off, grunts like a hog. It goes on and on and on. Yeah. This description of someone that we actually see on stage.
Well, that's the playing that nice irony of he's got that drunk that he's just saying whatever that he wants him to
this
say.
Is Barabas. This is Barabas saying it.
Is it Barabas saying?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Act 4, Scene 3. Beginning of first speech of Act 4, Scene 3.
Oh, sorry. We're talking about something totally different. Okay, sorry. Yeah, with you now.
Yeah. No, I think Ithamore's lines probably are just drunken fantasies. But yeah, I think one must wonder what Pilia-Borza is doubling. I mean, the moustache is obviously designed to make it easy for him to take over from whatever other part he was playing. I mean, there are plenty of available dead bodies that he could be stepping into. I mean, Matthias and Ludovic, for example.
Well, they're quite an isolated unit of action, aren't they? These characters here. They could have been anyone in that first act, or two to a degree. Though it gets there is a little bit of overlap, I think, with some scenes. Eric.
You kind of get the impression that, because at the beginning, Barabas had said that, him that I would have loved like my own son, and he would have inherited me and stuff. And you obviously get the impression that, it would never have happened. Yeah. In no way would he have done such a thing. He would have maybe just even killed him off beforehand.
There's so much hyperbole going on. All this, it's very expansive descriptors of all over the place. I mean, it seems to be part of the game. Helen.
Yeah, there's something I put in the chat, but I may as well say it as well.
Yes, no, please do.
The Barabas says that he has sent 300 crowns, then 500 crowns, and then is asked for 500 crowns. But although he says he sent 300 crowns, only 10 arrived.
I think they've got more in that drunken scene. I mean, they seem to be spending lavishly. So I think something or other has happened between the scenes.
I think it's just simply for Ithamore's sake. They said he only sent 10. They pocketed the rest, and that also then inflames Ithamore to write more intemperately. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're scamming off everybody.
Does anyone get the impression that Ben Jonson is watching this with aplomb?
Or with pen poised.
Yes.
Well, I think everybody's watching it with their pen.
Well, it's these reversals of fortune and these ironic setting up of deaths and a game. This is going to be something we will feed on later down the line a lot, I suspect. Other thoughts?
Yeah. How likely is it that if you have had a poisoned nosegay in your hat, that the person you wish to poison would actually ask to sniff it?
I think the question for many of these murders is how likely would any of them have worked, and the answer is almost entirely none. I mean, the persuading the friar to hit the other friar by just having him propped there not talking is so incredibly unlikely. Persuading the two potential lovers of Abigail to actually kill each other was still also quite unlikely. It's just another level of complete ridiculousness. I don't think we should think about this on a strictly logical sense. If he'd walked in and thrown it down and leapt out of the room cackling, and as the gas filled the room, that would be different. Super villain territory rather than sort of semi-comic version. Alan,
I'm not quite sure why anybody's looking for logic in this.
Yes,
because I don't think it has any.
No, it is so resolutely enjoying its own ridiculousness, as it's gone on. We were talking about a drama in the first act, and these scenes where really quite unpleasant things were going on, but also quite logical. You felt a drama was being set up, which may have had some comedy. This is resolutely playing this for ironic laughs. Go to Eric, then Lois.
I was going to say that it's interesting how it shows kind of the price of information, which obviously becomes very important during the reign of Elizabeth, because even the suggestion that Marlowe was a spy. Maybe. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but and it's sort of a different level running through the text, I guess.
Lois?
Yeah, well, just that there does seem to have been in this period a pretty wide belief in the possibility of poisoning just about anything, and at least certainly in plays you see everything imaginable being used as a means of poison. And somebody was, I think, executed for example, poisoning the pommel of Queen Elizabeth's saddle. I don't know quite how that was supposed to work. I mean, nowadays you could probably do it by sneezing all over it, but I don't know if that was what they were worried about.
Yes, to be honest, all of these murder attempts do seem to be like CIA operations against Fidel Castro. It has a sort of exploding cigar quality to it.
Yeah. But now we have Russians with furiously dangerous substances killing all sorts of people who aren't their targets.
Yeah, I think these plays may all suddenly turn out to be relevant, or more relevant than fantastic in performance.
Yeah.
It might be a case of individual incidents within this play are absurd in their own right, but when you are reasonable in their own right, but when you put them all together, then a level of absurdity builds. It's like soap operas saying our plots are all based on real life, but they didn't all happen to the same person.
Yeah, on the same day.
What about Ithamore with a Russian accent?
Well, there is a certain level of incompetence that is similar to some of the operatives used in recent cases, but I think we shall veer away from that for the moment, as I think we should career into Act 5. And I think I'm reading something in this. Yes, I am. I am going to be Farnese, aren't I? Yes, I am. So we have a scene with Farnese knights, in theory, Martin del Bosco. We'll see if that happens, and officers. Now, gentlemen, betake you to your arms and see that Malta be well fortified, and it behooves you to be resolute, for Calymath, having hovered here so long, will win the town or die before the walls.
Die he shall, for we will never yield.
And enter to the scene Bellamire and Pilia-Borza.
Bring us to the governor.
Away with her, she is a courtesan.
Whate'er I am, yet, governor, hear me speak. I bring thee news by whom thy son was slain. Matthias did it not, it was a Jew.
Who, besides the slaughter of these gentlemen, poisoned his own daughter and the nuns, strangled a friar, and I know not what mischief besides.
Had we but proof of this?
Oh, strong proof, my lord. His man's now at my lodging. That was his agent. He'll confess it all.
Go fetch him straight. I always feared that Jew. And officers have exited, and they re-enter within that line with Barabas and Ithamore.
I'll go alone. Dogs do not hail me thus.
Nor me neither. I cannot outrun you, constable. Oh, my belly.
1 dram of powder more had made all sure what a damn slave was I.
Make fires, heat irons, let the rack be fetched.
Nay, stay, my lord. Maybe you will confess.
Confess? What me, you lords? Who shall confess?
Thou and thy Turk, 'twas that slew my son.
Guilty, my lord, I confess. Your son and Matthias were both contracted unto Abigail, and he forged a counterfeit challenge.
Who carried that challenge?
I carried it, I confess, but who writ it? Marry, even he that strangled Barnardine poisoned the nuns and his own daughter.
Away with him, his sight is death to me.
For what? You men of Malta, hear me speak. She is a courtesan, and he a thief, and he my bondman. Let me have law, for none of this can prejudice my life.
Once more, away with him, you shall have law.
Devils, do your worst. I live in spite of you. As these have spoke, so be it to their souls. I hope their poison flowers will work anon.
And exeunt officers with Barabas and Ithamore, at which Bellamire and Pilia-Borza enter Katharine.
Was my Matthias murdered by the Jew? Firenze was thy son that murdered him?
Be patient, gentleman, madam, it was he. He forged the daring challenge, made him fight.
Where is the Jew? Where is that murderer?
In prison, till the law has passed on him, and the first officer re-enters.
My lord, the courtesan and her man are dead. So is the Turk and Barabas the Jew.
Dead?
Dead, my lord, and here they bring his body.
And Martin del Bosco, who we didn't think said anything in the entire play, does manage to get one line in this scene. This sudden death of his is very strange. Mm-hmm. Lovely to see Martin again there. Re-enter the officers carrying Barabas as dead. Wonder not at it, sir. The heavens are just. Their deaths were like their lives, then think not of them. Since they are dead, let them be buried. For the Jew's body, throw that o'er the walls to be a prey for vultures and wild beasts. So now, away, and fortify the town. Exit everybody, leaving Barabas on the floor.
What? All alone? Well, fair, sleepy drink. I'll be revenged on this accursed town For by my means Calymath shall enter in. I'll help to slay their children and their wives, to fire their churches, pull their houses down, take my goods too, and seize upon my lands. I hope to see the governor a slave and rowing in a galley whipped to death.
Enter Calymath, bassos, and Turks.
Whom have we hid there? A spy?
Yes, my good lord, one that can spy a place where you may enter and surprise the town. My name is Barabas. I am a Jew.
Art thou that Jew whose goods we heard were sold for tribute money?
The very same, my lord. And since that time they have hired a slave, my man, to accuse me of 1,000 villainies. I was imprisoned, but escaped their hands.
Didst break prison?
No. I drank of poppy and cold mandrake juice. And being asleep, belike they thought me dead, and threw me all the walls. So, or how else, the Jew is here and rests at your command.
'Twas bravely done. But tell me, Barabas, canst thou, as thou reportest, make Malta ours?
Fear not, my lord. For here, against the trench, the rock is hollow, and of purpose digged to make a passage for the running streams and common channels of the city. Now, whilst you give assault unto the walls, I'll lead 500 soldiers through the vault and rise with them in the middle of the town. Open the gates for you to enter in, and by this means the city is your own.
If this be true, I'll make thee governor.
And if it be not true, let me die.
Thou dooms thyself. Assault it presently.
End scene. So yes, this act of revenge is extended even further to the entire city itself. Yes, never have we seen betrayal like this since Travis betrayed the whereabouts of Star One. This is, yeah, a very plausible scene. It all made perfect sense. I think psychological realism absolutely in play here. It's really interesting how quickly people are entering and re-entering, how quickly people are dying, coming back to life. I particularly like Barabas's sleepy drink.
Yes.
It's just, oh, joys. Lois,
Yeah.
then Elizabeth.
I still remember the first time I saw this, which was the student production at the Edinburgh Festival, but Barabas being brought on supposedly dead with his arms piously crossed on his chest, and Martin saying, this sudden death of his is very strange, and the audience just cracking up completely, and they didn't believe it for a moment. But what's also odd here, obviously, is the staging question, because they say throw him over the walls, and Barabas says he's been thrown over the walls. So what actually happens?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a few of these staging issues which are very physical. They're very physical problems. They're not like something you can just sort of cross over and just move through. You know, someone has to get physically somewhere. You know, it's a bit Alice in Wonderland. You know, the world moves around you, and you have to keep to stay still. You have to run. It's got that sort of element to it. Elizabeth, next.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the double act between Ithamore and Pilia-Borza, and I was thinking about how compelling that was. They don't have another double act scene. I don't think you get it after the play, but I think it was Act 4, Scene 3 or Act 4, Scene 2, and I was thinking about how well they play off each other, and about what a compelling character Ithamore is. Because once Abigail's died, there's no one to kind of take that role of Barabas' daughter. I think Ithamore becomes quite a compelling character that comes to rise to the fore. And I was just thinking about Ithamore. Is Ithamore a man? Because I kept thinking Ithamore was a girl.
Oh.
Well, I mean, we could do it that way, but I think he is supposed to be definitely male within the logic of the original play. I mean, it's really interesting the way those scenes flowed into each other, that we had that scene where they're pulling Ithamore into their world, then it's back to Barabas and his impression, then back to their world again, and then closing off this plot line here where they die off stage. I mean, that's it. Ithamore's dead. And we didn't even get, fake convulsions, and there's so much potential. 3 people just croaking it, but I suspect they've got a really quick change. I also suspect there might be little bits of business here with 1 or 2 of entrancing and exiting of first officers. Feels like there needs to be the odd little line or thing just to give people a chance to get on and off stage. Because I'm assuming someone's got to be changing into Calymath and some of those Turks really swiftly here. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thought there of playing Ithamore as female, but it would give a totally different dynamic to the scenes with Bellamire, which I don't think would have been historically appropriate.
Well, I think it would be fun.
Have you read Galatea recently?
Yes, we haven't done that one yet. No, like all the John Lillys to come yet. Other thoughts? As we are now, getting the sense of momentum as betrayal upon betrayal upon betrayal, bodies everywhere now. Eric.
Yeah, that thing about like the logic of the play kind of, well, it's not so much that it falls apart, but like, the whole thing about, hey, he climbed over the walls, or like he was thrown off the walls, that he would have been injured if that happened. At least, but obviously the logic of the play is not important here because we just need to plow on with the story.
I think if he had a winding sheet or something, wrapped around him, then he could sort of do some what is it that thing where people are
abseiling?
Abseiling.
No, I wasn't thinking abseiling. When it's more sort of material cloth and they can sort of do the aerial gymnastics sort of thing. I just have this image of him doing that down the wall and just landing very lightly. And in a way that would be impossible to stage on live, but
I just wondered if they dropped them down the trap.
Yes, that's a thought.
Yeah,
but then he's got to get out of the trap.
Well, it won't take a second to do that, I would have thought.
No.
It's interesting that it doesn't really address it fully, does it? But it just says leaving him on the floor.
Yeah, that's a modern stage direction anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, what happening there?
They did whatever they did with Arthur in Troublesome Reign, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gosh, yes.
But there, it just seems like in Troublesome Reign, it just seems like he tripped over the walls, or well, he sort of fell, but not very far.
Yeah, well, he was, mobile before he dropped, so he could have if he was skilled stunt performer, then he might manage it. Whereas he's supposedly a rigid corpse, is also. Who knows?
I must say, I like the idea of them tipping him into a trap, and then everybody leaves, and then suddenly he pops up out of the trap. That would be a very, very funny scene.
Yeah. I like that.
There's a reason for not doing it, but you'll find that out later.
Oh, stop it!
Spoilers. We haven't got much left to do, so let's crack on. I may let some scenes flow into each other, and we'll see how it goes. We're going into Act 5, Scene 2, as we have it classified here. There are alarums, because remember, there's a whole siege going on thing. So it's all action, fighty. Way-in's been found. So alarums within. Enter Calymath, Bassoes, Turks, and Barabas with Ferenese and Knights prisoner.
Now veil your pride, you captive Christians, and kneel for mercy to your conquering foe. Now where's the hope you had of haughty Spain? Ferenese, speak. Had it not been much better to keep thy promise than that be thus surprised?
What should I say? We are captives and must yield.
Aye, villains, you must yield, and under Turkish yokes shall groaning bear the burden of our ire. And, Barabas, as erst we promised thee, for thy desert, we make thee governor. Use them at thy discretion.
Thanks, my lord.
Oh, fatal day, to fall into the hands of such a traitor and unhallowed Jew. What greater misery could heaven inflict?
'Tis our command. And, Barabas, we give, to guard thy person, these our janissaries. Entreat them well, as we have used thee. And now, brave bassos, come, we'll walk about the ruined town, and see the wreck we made. Farewell, brave Jew. Farewell, great Barabas.
May all good fortune follow Calymath.
And exit Calymath and Bassos.
And now, as entrance to our safety, to prison with the governor and these captains, his consorts and confederates.
Oh, villain, heaven will be revenged on thee.
Away, no more, let him not trouble me.
Exit Turks with Farnese and knights.
Thou hast thou gotten by thy policy no simple place, no small authority. I now am governor of Malta, true, but Malta hates me, and in hating me, my life's in danger. And what boots it thee, poor Barabas, to be the governor, whereas thy life shall be at their command? No, Barabas, this must be looked into. And since by wrong thou gotst authority, maintain it bravely by firm policy, at least unprofitably lose it not. For he that liveth in authority, and neither gets him friends nor fills his bags, lives like the ass that Aesop speaketh of, that labours with a load of bread and wine, and leaves it off to snap on thistle tops. But Barabas will be more circumspect. Begin betimes, occasions bald behind. Sip not thine opportunity, for fear too late thou seekest for much, but canst not compass it within here.
Enter Farnese with a guard. My lord.
Aye, Lord, thus slaves will earn. Now, governor, stand by there, wait within.
And exit the guard.
This is the reason that I sent for thee. Thou seest thy life and Malta's happiness are at my arbitrament, and Barabas at his discretion may dispose of both. Now, tell me, governor, and plainly too, what thinkest thou shall become of it and thee?
This, Barabas, since things are in thy power, I see no reason but of Malta's wreck, nor hope of thee but extreme cruelty. Nor fear I death, nor will I flatter thee.
Governor, good words. Be not so furious. 'Tis not thy life which can avail me aught. Yet you do live, and live for me you shall. And as for Malta's ruin, think you not 'twere slender policy for Barabas to dispossess himself of such a place? Forsooth, as once you said, within this isle in Malta here, that I have got my goods, and in this city still have had success, and now at length am grown your governor. Yourself shall see it shall not be forgot, for as a friend not known, but in distress, I'll rear up Malta now remediless.
Will Barabas recover Malta's loss? Will Barabas be good to Christians?
What wilt thou give me, governor, to procure a dissolution of the slavish bands wherein the Turk hath yoked your land and you? Huh? What will you give me if I render you the life of Calymath, surprise his men, and in an outhouse of the city shut his soldiers till I had consumed them all with fire? What will you give him that procureth this?
Do but bring this to pass, which thou pretendest, deal truly with us as thou intimatest, and I will send among the citizens, and by my letters privately procure great sums of money for thy recompense. Nay, more, do this, and live thou governor still.
Nay, do thou this, Farnese, and be free. Governor, I enlarge thee. Live with me. Go walk about this city. See thy friends. Tush, send not letters to him. Go thyself, and let me see what money thou canst make. Here is my hand, that I'll set Malta free, and thus we cast it. To a solemn feast I will invite young Selim Calymath, where be thou present only to perform one stratagem that I'll impart to thee, wherein no danger shall betide thy life, and I will warrant Malta free forever.
Here is my hand. Believe me, Barabas, I will be there and do as thou desirest. When is the time?
Governor, presently. For Calymath, when he hath viewed the town, will take his leave and sail toward Ottoman.
Then will I, Barabas, about this coin, and bring it with me to thee in the evening.
Do so, but fail now. Now, farewell, Farnese.
And exit Farnese.
Thus, far roundly goes the business. Thus, loving neither, will I live with both, making a profit of my policy. And he from whom my most advantage comes shall be my friend. This is the life we Jews are used to lead, and reason too, for Christians do the like. Well, now about effecting this device. First, to surprise great Selim soldiers, and then to make provision for the feast, that at one instant all things may be done. My policy detests prevention. To what event my secret purpose drives, I know, and they shall witness with their lives.
And they exit. We're going to go straight into Act 5, Scene 3. Enter Calymath and Bassos.
Thus have we viewed the city, seen the sack, and caused the ruins to be new repaired, which with our bombards shot and basilisks we rent in sunder at our entry. And now I see the situation, and how secure this conquered island stands, environed with the Mediterranean Sea, strong countermined with other petty isles, and towards Calabria, backed by Sicily, by Syracuse and Dionysus reigned, two lofty turrets that command the town. I wonder how it could be conquered thus.
Enter a messenger.
From Barabas, Malta's governor, I bring a message unto mighty Calymath. Hearing his sovereign was bound for sea, to sail to Turkey, to great Ottoman. He humbly would entreat your majesty to come and see his homely citadel, and banquet with him ere thou leavest the isle.
To banquet with him in his citadel? I fear me, messenger, to feast my train within a town of war so lately pillaged will be too costly and too troublesome. Yet would I gladly visit Barabas, for well has Barabas deserved of us.
For that, thus saith the governor, that he hath in his store a pearl so big, so precious, and withal so orient, as, be it valued but indifferently, the price thereof will serve to entertain Selim and all his soldiers for a month. Therefore he humbly would entreat your highness not to depart till he has feasted you.
I cannot feast my men in Malta walls, except he places tables in the streets.
Know, Selim, that there is a monastery which standeth as an outhouse to the town. There will be a banquet, there will he banquet them, but thee at home, with all thy bassos and brave foes.
Well, tell the governor we grant his suit. We'll in this summer evening feast with him.
I shall, my lord.
And exit messenger.
And now, bold bassos, let us to our tents, meditate how we may grace us best to solemnize our governor's great feast.
And exit straight on into Act 5, Scene 4. Enter Vernese Knights and Martin del Bosco. In this, my countrymen, be ruled by me. Have special care that no man sally forth till you shall hear our Colvin discharge by him that bears the linestock kindled thus. Then issue out and come to rescue me, for haply I shall be in distress, or you released of this servitude.
Rather than thus to live as Turkish stalls, what will we not adventure?
On, then, begone.
Farewell, brave governor.
And exit on one side, the Knights and Martin del Bosco, and on the other side, Veronese. And we'll stop there before we get to the final scene. I wanted to just let those, the various plot train thing moving forward. Okay. So why is Barabas turning coat again, or is it just because it's fun? I know there's reasons given in the play, but is anyone buying them? Well, lots of hands going up there. I'll go Elizabeth first.
Yeah, Barabas. I think he keeps changing his mind as to whose side he's on. I think that makes for quite a compelling ending of the narrative. I think that he, ever since his brush with death, we have to look at him in a new light. Because now he's made it all the way to governor. He's made it all the way to the governor of Malta. Finese's job, I think.
Mm. But he could be sitting pretty. He doesn't have to turn sides again to because they've been Calymath and his mates have been treating him really well. You know, calling him a great man and really bigging him up. I just it is definitely feeling like, well, we've got to do one more twist and turn on this game because we can. Who else was in the running? Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I think quite honestly the motivation is Barabas has already been played for a loser several times by various factions, and I think he's probably working on the principle, okay, this time I'll get my revenge in first. He's working on the principle of the greatest happiness of the greatest number, but can't actually count beyond one.
Eric?
I was going to say that there's like this, I don't know if it's a trope, but like it's sort of like in films or, plays, you never trust the spy because they're always going to betray you. Whether it's like, sort of a spy or like a character who changes sides at the beginning.
Yes, we've had that. They never trust the turned coat, or almost never do, apart from the very few occasions when someone did. But yeah, but it doesn't seem that Calymath is thinking that at all. He's sort of going, no, he seems relatively genuine all the way through so far. He's just turned up saying, "Where's our money? Where's our money? Give us our money. You are dealing very badly with us. We will now attack you because you have not given us our money." He seems a fairly straightforward chap.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, Eric?
I wanted to add that it's interesting how he's well, I don't know if this is a Marlowe thing or just a Barabas thing, but he talks a lot about how of people as jewels, or as like sort of like Abigail was a diamond, and then like, or like to lure people in. It's like, oh yeah, I have a good diamond for you, and it's like how do you call it? It was for Abigail, and now to lure Selim Calymath into the whole scheme, he uses a pearl. I don't know if that's like a stylistic thing or just like his obsession with things. Yeah.
Well, it's that question of just setting up the bribe to get everyone in, saying we're going to have a party. We can we've got room for everyone. We've got this one. We've got this monastery. We can. Was it a monastery somewhere that they can put all the men in? A nice location for some unfortunate things happen to them, and as well as obviously Calymath himself, who will be dealt with separately. So there's some, you've got to bait your hook somehow. You invited him to dinner, but that's not going to be enough, is it? That's not going to be enough. So yeah, Pearl makes sense. I don't know if it's a stylistic thing or just it felt like it was needed. Okay, we only have one more scene, and we're going to go into it now. So, heads up for Act 5, Scene 4, Ready, Steady, Cook. Enter Fernese, Knights, and Martin. Oh, no, that's the previous one. Act 5, Scene 5, sorry. Enter above Barabas with a hammer, very busy, and carpenters.
How stand the cords? How hang these hinges fast? All the cranes and pulleys sure?
All fast.
Leave nothing loose, all levered to my mind. Why, now I see that you have art indeed. There, carpenters, divide that gold amongst you.
And gives out lots of gold.
Go swilling bowls of sack and muscadine, down to the cellar, taste of all my wines.
We shall, my lord, and thank you.
And exit the carpenters.
If you like them, drink your fill and die. For so I live, perish may all the world. Now, Selim Calymath, return me word that doubt will come, and I am satisfied.
Enter the messenger.
Now, Sirrah, what will he come?
Will, and has commanded all his men to come ashore and march through Malta streets, that thou mayst feast them in thy citadel.
Then now are all things as my wish would have them. There wanteth nothing but the governor's pelf. And see, he brings it.
Enter Veronese.
Now, governor, the song.
With free consent, 100,000 pounds.
Pounds, sayest thou, governor? Well, since it is no more, I'll satisfy myself with that. Nay, keep it still. For if I keep not my promise, trust not me. And governor, now partake my policy. First, for his army, they are sent before, entered the monastery, and underneath in several places are field pieces pitched, bombards, whole barrels full of gunpowder, that on the sudden shall dissever it, and batter all the stones about their ears, whence none can possibly escape alive. Now, as for Calymath and his consorts, here have I made a dainty gallery, the floor whereof, this cable being cut, doth fall asunder, so that it doth sink into a deep pit past recovery. Here, hold that knife, and when thou seest he comes,
Throws down a knife.
and with his basso shall be blithely set, a warning piece shall be shot off from the tower, to give thee knowledge when to cut the cord and fire the house. Say, will not this be brave?
Oh, excellent. Here, hold thee, Barabas. I trust thy word. Take what I promise thee.
No, governor, I'll satisfy thee first. Thou shalt not live in doubt of anything. Stand close, or here they come.
And Veronese exits.
Why, is not this a kingly kind of trade to purchase towns by treachery and sell him by deceit? Now, tell me, worldlings, upon underneath the sun, if greater falsehood has been done.
Enter Calymath and bassos.
Come, my companion bassos, see, I pray, how busy Barabas is there above to entertain us in his gallery. Let us salute him. Save thee, Barabas.
Welcome, great Calymath.
How the slave jeers at him.
Will please thee, mighty Selim Calymath, to ascend our homely stairs.
Aye, Barabas. Come, bassos, ascend.
Stay, Calymath, for I will show thee greater courtesy than Barabas would have afforded thee.
Sound a charge there.
A charge is sounded within. Veronese cuts the cord, the floor of the gallery gives way, and Barabas falls into a cauldron placed in a pit. Enter Knights and Martin del Bosco.
Now, what means this?
Help! Help me! Christians, help!
See, Calymath, this was devised for thee.
Treason! Treason! Bassos, fly!
No, Selim, do not fly. See his end first, and fly then if thou canst.
Oh, help me, Selim! Help me, Christians! Governor, why stand you all so pitiless?
Should I, in pity of thy plaints, or thee, accursed Barabas, base Jew, relent? No, thus I'll see thy treachery repaid, but wish thou hadst behaved thee otherwise.
You will not help me then?
No, villain, no.
And villains, no, you cannot help me now. Then Barabas, breathe forth thy latest fate, and in thy fury of thy torments, strive to end thy life with resolution. No, governor, 'twas I that slew thy son. I framed the challenge that did make them meet. No, Calymath, I aimed thy overthrow, and had I but escaped this stratagem, I would have brought confusion on you all. Damned Christians, dogs, and Turkish infidels. But now begins the extremity of heat to pinch me with intolerable pangs. Die, life, fly so, tongue curse thy fill, and die.
And he dies.
Tell me, you Christians, what doth this portend?
This train he laid to have entrapped thy life. Now, Selim, note the unhallowed deeds of Jews. Thus he determined to have handled thee, but I have rather chose to save thy life.
Was this the banquet he prepared for us? Let's hence, lest further mischief be pretended.
Nay, Selim, stay, for since we have thee here, I will not let thee part so suddenly. Besides, if we should let thee go, all's one, for with thy galleys couldst thou not get hence without fresh men to rig and furnish them.
Tush, governor, take thou no care for that. My men are all aboard, and to attend my coming there by this.
Why, heardst thou not the trumpet sound a charge?
Yes, what of that?
Why, then the house was fired, blown up, and all thy soldiers massacred.
Oh, monstrous treason!
A Jew's courtesy. For he that did by treason work our fall, by treason hath delivered thee to us. Know therefore, till thy father hath made good the ruins done to Malta and to us, thou canst not part, nor for Malta shall be freed, or Selim ne'er return to Ottoman.
Nay, rather, Christians, let me go to Turkey, in person there to mediate your peace. To keep me here will naught advantage you.
Content thee, Calymath, here thou must stay, and live in Malta prisoner, for come all the world to rescue thee, so will we guard us now, as sooner they shall drink the ocean dry than conquer Malta or endanger us. So march away, and let due praise be given, neither fate nor fortune, but to heaven. Isn't that an ending? Yeah, as we all thought at the beginning of the play, that obviously Barabas is going to be boiled in a pot. That's exactly where we're expecting this all to go. I mean, it was obvious from the opening speech. I'm sure we all thought that was where it was going. Yeah.
They caught him. He was so slippery for the whole play. He got out so many times, but they only got him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a ridiculously complicated plot, and if you're going to set up a trap, you don't stand on it. Literally, you know where the X on the floor is. You don't stand on it if you built it. Anyway, Lois.
Yeah. I've seen a quite interesting interpretation of this play, which starts with the name Barabas, that Barabas is the one freed instead of Jesus Christ. And then it points out that you can see this as a kind of weird parody, given that Barabas apparently dies, rises again, and then descends to hell. He doesn't, in fact, come out of there, but it does sort of follow that course. It would be very interesting if that were intended.
Yes, we have that sort of hell pit quality to the cauldron, though that might be overplayed. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a really quite a dark ending there. I was really leaning into Ferranese there, just going, "No, you're definitely our prisoner, mate. Yeah, we just killed all your men."
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massacre. It is a massive massacre has occurred off stage at the same time as this really grotesque death for Barabas.
The thing is that it's Barabas's massacre. I mean, that was his plan. Ferranese is using his plan, against him. It's another Machiavellian trick.
And as you say, he can be played by the he can also play Machiavel.
Yeah, the actor did it in the, I
Mm.
think it was the 93 production. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, because of course, it's not in his interests to kill Calymath if he can capture him, because then he's more valuable alive as a hostage, whereas Barabas is just annoying to him, and he's already stolen all his wealth once. Stealing it again is fine. Yeah, and again we get the really loaded language coming out at the end there, and it's really grotesque. And that final speech in the pot, I mean, it's very difficult to know what to do with it. I mean, you can tear it to shreds. I'm sure there's some scenery chewing available there, but die life, fly soul. It's yeah, it's a really interesting question where to pitch that.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, Eric?
I was gonna say it's interesting as a play, like as an ending also, but like Barabas has been on stage almost the entire duration, aside from like, I don't know, maybe 3 scenes.
He doesn't get many breaks, and they're not very long.
Yeah.
He has had a few, but he's
has
a very
peak break.
constant presence. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
guess
was quite exhausted. I mean, at the end of, I could feel my voice going. I'd only read a third.
Yeah, I can understand
Yesterday.
why Alan kept retiring. If he's doing this, almost every week. Popular play. There's this thing of popular plays can be a trap for an actor. It's like a role. Getting typecast in certain types of roles. Oh God, do I have to do this one again?
But is it the first of the big star vehicles?
It's one of them. It's not the first, but it's certainly within a span of the big parts that are coming his way. Yeah.
I mean, there's Tamburlaine and Geronimo, presumably.
Yeah.
Earlier.
So this is number 3, you could say, that we know of.
Yeah, and Muley Mahomet, I suppose, in the Battle of Alcazar, if that's earlier, I can't even remember.
Yes, but he's not on that much.
No,
there's an awful lot of other.
That's a much evener text.
Yeah, it was a famous role, though.
Oh yes, but he really, I mean, that his plot line is sort of about a third, isn't it?
But it's also even with Tamburlaine and Geronimo, they're not on stage anywhere near as much in the same way. I mean, Tamburlaine dominates, but I think in both plays he doesn't really appear in the first act at all. He's talked about for several scenes, and then he appears. And other plot lines are available, and decent gaps. It's a massive part. I think I did for a sketch, I'm sure, figure out how many what the percentage of the word count for Barabas was, and it's I think it's over 50% of the text. I'm saying that off the top of my head. I could be wrong there, but I did actually figure out what the word count was for him, and it was huge.
I think Lucas Ern has done statistics on this play. He's done on a number of what percentage do the leading players have in their biggest parts. Should look that one up.
Yes, so we've just crossed the line into extra time. So it's final thoughts for the play overall. I mean, some of us haven't been here all the time, but it is a play. It's slightly easier to fill in the gaps than for others. About what does one do with a play like this, which has so many issues today. And hell, even then, where does one pitch it? What does one do with it? And should we feel really bad for enjoying it? There is a thing that this is frequently incredibly entertaining and incredibly well structured as a piece of entertainment, but that makes some of its tropes all the more uncomfortable, actually, in many ways. So it's an interesting question about what one does. I'll start with Helen. Helen, final thoughts on the Jew of Malta?
I can't make up my mind whether it's highly playable or utterly unplayable. It's one of the two. The thing that worries me most is the change between the first third and the rest of the play. I would really, really like to know more about the text history. There are an awful lot of early versions of plays that I would love to come across in some obscure archive somewhere, and this has now gone on to that list. I want to see the original version of this play.
Yeah, absolutely. Lois, final thoughts?
Well, I think it is highly playable. I mean, I've seen some extremely enjoyable productions of it. And it seems to me that it is structured from the beginning to show the hypocrisy and awfulness of the other characters. I mean, they say anti-Semitic things. He says anti-Christian things, and he says at various points, you know, this is the way we Jews are used to live, and reason to for Christians do the like. And it's clear all the way through that there's incredible hypocrisy on the part of all these people who keep blaming him and yet using the same techniques. You know, I mean, Machiavelli at the beginning says people speak against me and yet they read me and they use my devices to become popes and so on. It's you know, you could argue that it's not really anti-Christian, it's only anti-Catholic, but in terms of the world of the play, the Catholics are the Christians. And so it seems to me that, you know, the Christians, the Jews, and to a somewhat lesser extent, the Turks all really come out badly in this thing. That's why I don't really have any problem with it. It just seems to be, you know, a black farce, as T.S. Eliot called it. Savage farce, I think was his term.
Do the Turks come out? Turks come out of it quite well on the whole. I mean, you know,
Ithamore? Ithamore's a Turk.
Yeah, he is. And
yeah,
that
but,
bit
but you know, he has a complicated ancestry, and he's a slave. You know, he's also seems to be quite an idiot. I mean, I'm thinking of the diplomatic corps of the Turks here are, you know, they want their money, and you know, they didn't break any rules. They played this with a very straight bat all the way through, and they come out really badly in the end. I think there's something quite unfair on them, really.
Are you suggesting this is a pro-Turkish play?
Not really, but it's not. It's. I think the problem is it's you know, the amount of invective played against Jewish characters is considerably more than any light satire on Christianity. I think that's the big problem is so weighted. You know, there are some Christian characters, but they're not. We're not really playing that much on that. Apart from, you know, that's just vaguely who they are. It's not like they're even the friars aren't exactly loaded with too much. You know, they're a bit horny, but you know, what do you expect? So yeah, it's the way it's weighted just makes that feel very unbalanced on that front. Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece. I think there would be problems in trying to put it together. As I've felt right the way through, this is a script which has been eroded over a long performance history. And I suspect some of the logical jumps that we've spotted on the way through possibly relate to material which was there in the original and got excised over time as it just became more and more of a star vehicle. And the idea being that if you played it at pace, nobody's going to notice the fact that there's a howling great gap in the plot.
Yeah, it's not so much there's howling gaps in the plot, but it is that howling gaps of business that we need explaining in the text. And yeah, if it is something that gets performed a lot, then it gets tighter. We've talked about this before with certain texts where, entrance and exits can be very quick, because if you've polished it up in performance, you don't need quite so many gaps to break it up. Whereas a new play, you might want a longer speech here because someone walking off stage suddenly goes, "What the hell happens next?" before they get shoved back on stage again. So we've had that with
in a completely different makeup and turban.
Exactly. Depends what the backstage people are doing to them. Just, who am I now? You're this person. Get back on stage. Elizabeth, final thoughts.
Yeah, we've done a few Turkish plays, but the Jew of Malta is a standout, I think. I missed the middle part of the play, but I don't feel like I lost anything in missing that middle part, except for maybe just the death of Abigail. I really enjoyed it. I think as the Turkish plays go, it's not as violent as some of them. I remember the Battle of Balthazar, where the queen is murdered. So many people get murdered in that, and they're all of high status. But that doesn't happen in this play. So I think that overall, I really enjoyed it. I like the Barabas, the character. I think he really carries the narrative really well on his shoulders, and he does get his comeuppance in the end, but that kind of is fitting for a Turkish play as well. So I really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I think Barabas should get away with it at the end. I think he should just become governor and just leave it at that, and just walk away. Eric, final thoughts.
Well, I think it's a very interesting play, both in terms of structure and story, and all the sort of isms that are in there. But I think it depends on how you, not necessarily staging, but in terms of the direction you want to go in. If you did think that Barabas gets his comeuppance at the end or not, otherwise you end up feeling he's been oppressed, so to speak. Therefore, he kind of is justified in what he does. At some point, though, that oversteps the mark, right? So, I guess it kind of depends who's playing Barabas and who's playing all the other characters. If you make Ithamore comical, then is he a psychopath? Is Barabas a serial killer who would have just killed himself eventually? Or what would have happened? Because at some point, even if Barabas lived, what would he do? He would have either killed everybody else or walked away to kill other people.
Yeah, it is that thing. He seems to be on a downward trajectory of just killing more and more people, and that there is no stopping this train. There's something very interesting about that. That is almost a suicide wish, isn't it, for someone who's effectively died? That he's going to kill everyone, and he won't stop until everybody's dead, and then he will be the Jew of Malta. So I mean, that might be excessive, but there does seem to be something weirdly pathological later on as it goes. But it does start so small. It's all so petty. There's something really squalid about so much of this play. It's not like Elizabeth was talking about other Turks plays, where we are dealing with high politics, and there is a high politicky element to what's going on here. There is a siege. There are battle. There is a mini battle. But it doesn't seem like the heart of this play is sitting on that at all. It's all about these little actions in little rooms. Dan, final thoughts?
Yes, I am very sad I wasn't here the first 2 days. I thought this was really enjoyable today. I want to second Lois's comments on it. I think that it does. I don't know if I can say it's an equal free-for-all against Christians, Jews, and whatnot. But I do think that nobody here is necessarily portrayed in the best light, where there's definitely a hero, maybe there is definitely a villain, but still there are justifications for it. This is one of those things where I will comment on. Normally I say, well, this should just be staged the way that it's not exactly how it's been written. It can be adapted, of course, obviously text moved here and there, lines cut and whatnot. But obviously today, without context to people who don't know anything about Christopher Marlowe or the Jew of Malta would be problematic just in its title. To people would want to know, okay, how anti-Semitic is this play? That would be the only issue I can see with staging it. But if staged, well, at some sort of a theater that stages a lot of early modern productions, or with a Marlowe festival or whatnot, I wouldn't see why. I think then that would just be forgotten, essentially. It would be looked at as a product of its time. About the print history, it's a shame we only have the one quarto from 1633, because, I mean, as it's been written about, we've got the prologue, epilogue written by Thomas Heywood, possibly scenes tinkered with by him. It's interesting to see how it's been printed as well, because there are numerous asides that are marked, as well as on at times it's in italics when it should be an aside, and then other times it's not. It's very inconsistent in that. Also, by the 1630s, the text had become more and more readable, in the sense that typography was used, certain techniques were used to make it a readable text. And yet there are so many inconsistencies with this text, where sometimes it's there and yes, I know exactly who's speaking and to whom, and other times I'm not sure there. So it does make me wonder what the copy text looked like, because it looks like it was copying off of another text that was meant for reading, and not necessarily one that was ever used for performance there.
So there we have it. Any final we've gone around the room once, but Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's interesting how, like, well, because also, we're doing the whole repentance of Mary Magdalene in the evenings, and it's like, well, it's interesting how Barabas is not allowed repentance, whereas, I mean, he's not given, it's not so much that he's not allowed, but he also doesn't seek it at some point. He just sort of gives up. Whereas other characters like Abigail, she's like more, she kind of doesn't have anything else in the world to do, and like sort of she can't be with the one she loves, therefore she doesn't give up and commit suicide. She just like moves to like sisterhood, which is like, I don't know, how come he's not given the chance to repent as a character? Would that be out of character for him?
I mean, going back to elements to, everybody is very selfish. Everybody is thinking about themselves. No one is really thinking about the greater good or the people around them, or how they fit within a society. Nobody is interested in that. Lois said it the other day, it's about money. Pretty much all of this is about money, or is created because of people interested in money. And, that's where the Jewish trope really plays in here, is that, that's what the play is about. And that's what it's feeding into. Everybody is after it. The Pilia-Borza and Bellamire plotline, which really we focused in on today, that's all about extracting money. That's all they're interested in, and they're going to do anything to get the money that they want. Bellamire is having fun with Ithamore. Or Ithamore thinks, she loves him. She doesn't. She's working to get money, and extract as much money as possible, because during the siege they've only been being paid in silver. They want gold, and they know where to get gold from, and that's where they're going from. Lois, I saw a hand.
Yeah, just on that, I remember one production, I can't even remember which one now, but Barabas came in as governor with this chain. I think they put it on him. And after everybody had gone off and he had his soliloquy, he sort of picked up the chain and was weighing it and obviously assessing its value, And then he started on this thing of, what's the point of being governor if everybody hates me, And then he asks Farnese, and well, Farnese agrees to bring lots of money. I mean, that's the final sort of motivation. If anybody does have a vaguely altruistic motive, it might be at the end Farnese, because he is trying to keep Malta free at any rate. I mean, there's a sort of political motive there. But on the other hand, he is equally criticizable as perhaps the most Machiavellian of the lot.
Any other thoughts, Alan?
I must admit, I found the through line for Barabas and Calymath is far more consistent than either of the other characters, and I certainly was not in the going to join the fan club for Firenze anytime soon, because he's basically opportunistic, vacillating. I mean, he's swayed by De Bosco over the volte-face on honouring the treaty with the Turks. Whereas I did find that Barabas's character was broadly consistent throughout. And I think any mood changes probably relate to material which got lost because maybe it didn't come over as well when the thing was just being pushed as being a star vehicle.
It's the thing about Barabas is everything's for effect. You know, even when he's doing a soliloquy, I don't get the impression that at any point we're actually getting into his mind. The play does not seem to be very interested in getting into his mind. You know, it's creating fairly wafer-thin motivations for the thing he's going to do next in the scene. You know, maybe less so in the first act, where it felt like maybe there was something going on there. But after that, there feels like there's very little going on underneath that hood. Helen?
When I was reading it, I somewhat surprised myself by finding that I didn't think he believed half of the things he was saying.
Mm.
He seemed to be talking for effect and to amuse himself.
Mm.
I got the impression of someone who was bored with normal life.
Mm.
You know, I mean, he found the whole world, you know, all this money that he kept on acquiring. It was really tedious, and he went into mass murder, extortion, and the rest of it just because he could.
Mm.
They took everything from him, Helen, though. They took all of his jewels from him in the beginning. So maybe he was seeking revenge.
Yes, except that they did it somewhat unsuccessfully because he was still getting stuff coming in from abroad, and he was still able to get the stuff he'd hidden in the house. He certainly gives the impression that he's hardly been touched at all by them taking what they thought was everything.
Well, it's not only that. The play does present him with a revenge plot, but he never grabs it as a character. You know, it's not like any of his revenge musings that he does do are either very long or particularly very, you know, detailed. They're just he just, like, every so often he has a minor grrr, and then he moves on, and it becomes a game, and it feels like a theatre game. All of this, it feels like it's for effect, and that, you know, we sometimes talk about, you know, the you know, how much inner depth do some characters have in the early modern period, and, you know, some clearly have a lot, and this one, it feels surface all the way down. Lois?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it is really a theatre play, and it seems to me that the big relationship Barabas has is with the audience, and from the beginning, really. And the end of his last soliloquy, if that's what it is, he says, "Now lordings, tell me underneath the sun if greater falsehood ever hath been done." And that's obviously addressed to the audience. I mean, there's nobody else it could be addressed to. And he's gloating over the fact that he has, you know, he just betrayed one lot of people and he's now about to betray the other lot. It's totally within the world of the theatre.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Right, well, we have unfortunately run out of time. I'm sure we will come back to the Jew of Malta in various different ways in the future, but for the moment, that is it for this particular play and for this particular room. All that remains is to thank all the readers today for their work and say farewell.
Bye.
Bye.